Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. We're going to get started in just a second on the training around the 7-step process for success. But I wanted to start off with just a tip for success in the federal market. I like to do a little special tip for those showing up early and on time. And so my tip is around communication. George Bernard Shaw said that the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it even took place at all. The single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. And I really like this quote because it reminds me to clarify things. An example is, I had just a quick example on communication around pricing. I had a customer who's trying to close a deal with a contracting officer, and the contracting officer comes back and says, hey, I want you to lower your prices basically by 20 and 30%. And so my customer was worried about it. Obviously, they were pretty anxious about it. And I said, just write back to them and say, nah, thanks. We've given you our best possible price. And they were very nervous about it, obviously, right? And now that it's all done and it's good, I'll tell you, I might have been a little nervous about it. But I said this, right? You got to be willing to sit there and stick to certain things you believe in. But maybe they don't even really want the price to be dropped. They just want to feel like they did their due diligence. Long story short, they reached out to the contracting officer and said, yeah, we're not going to lower our prices because those are our best and final. And the contracting officer says, okay, it sounds good. You know, it's like, and in fact, they took one price. They said, could you lower this a little bit? And so my customer dropped that by 3%, I think, but it was one part of a huge portion of pricing. And just by reaching out and having that communication, clarified it. Sometimes we think the communication has happened. Sometimes we think we're on the same page, but we're not. And it's important for us to just remember that. So remember what George Bernard Shaw says, the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. So speaking of communication, let's get communicating about the 7-step process, because today I want to talk about process. I'm a big fan of process improvement. I've been doing this my whole career as a sales guy, as an IT person, as a project manager, et cetera. Process is always out there. And if we, try to just level set for a second, communication about what process is, just think about if you're making a sandwich, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? There's a process to making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You get out the peanut butter and jelly, a knife and a spoon. You get out the bread and a paper towel to put on the counter so you're not dirty on the counter right away. And then you put your bread down. You put the peanut butter on one piece of bread, and then you put the jelly on top of that. And then you close that, and you've got your sandwich, right? You got to clean up, but that's a secondary process. But there's a process to making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Over and over again, you can make it the right way. Now, we might disagree on the process, so we should come together and say, should the peanut butter be on one side and the jelly on the other? But whatever it is in your company, when you've decided to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich the same way over and over again, that process that you're putting in place, the documentation of the process, the agreement that we're all going to follow this process and this is the way we're going to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in our company, that's organizational maturity. When we think about maturity models that take us to the next step, the first thing is to kind of follow a process. The second is to document it. And then you're getting people to do it over and over again. And then the whole company is doing it. These are the levels of maturity an organization has. And this is why we want to start with, understanding the processes and clarifying the processes. And so for me, in federal sales, I created, follow, and teach the 7-step process for federal revenue success. And this is what's going to lead to predictable revenue when we follow it consistently. And it's what I want to teach you today as we dive into my process for the 7-step process for federal revenue success. When we follow this process, we're going to sit there and have that success we want. And so that's what we're going to dive into today. Again, thanks those of you engaging in chat. I really appreciate that. That's what makes the network a network, right? It's not just me coming out here and training you, but it's me facilitating a chance for you and that person to meet and maybe work together or at least help each other. In today's training, my 7-step process for federal revenue success, I'm going to break it down into first just introduce you to the process at a high level, right? And then I want to walk through each one of the 7 steps and basically break it down into the what, why, and how of the 7-step process. And then I want to give you an action item at the end of the training of something you could do today, right? You literally could take 15, 30 minutes and take my training and execute on it, do some step that I'll show you at the end that enables you to just move your business a little bit farther forward. So if this is what you're here to learn today, if you're believing that process rocks, whether it's running your company or making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, put process rocks in the chat. Don't just do it for me, but it also lets LinkedIn push it out to other people saying, you don't know what you're missing. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I'm co-founder of GovCon in a Box, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. And this is what I want for you. Especially, this is why we're going to be talking about the 7-step process today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our newsletter, Government Contracting Success Newsletter. It's all things related to trying to help you understand your federal customers better, understand the sales process better. So subscribe to that so you don't miss another issue. And then tomorrow we're doing training around how federal buyers find small businesses like yours, right? So there's inbound and outbound activity you can do in sales. Outbound is when you go knocking on a buyer's door. Inbound is when they come knocking on yours. And so tomorrow I'm going to be talking about inbound sales. That 99% of the way sales happens is when somebody finds you. And so that's what we're doing tomorrow. Make sure you register for that training. You can find it right here on my LinkedIn profile. I want to congratulate Shahid Smith from SAS Geospatial for getting his company into the 100 Club. The 100 Club is something we put together in govconinabox.com, so you can check out your score. But the score is 0 to 100 on how visible you are to the federal buyer. So we call it a federal visibility score. And when you get to 100, you're in the 100 Club. There's 360,000 small businesses out there, and only 67 of them are at a fully visible status. Yesterday, I was working with a customer, and we were looking at their keyword, and it's a pretty popular keyword in my opinion. But when you look at it and you tie it back to like 8A companies or something, there's only like 5 to 8 companies out of 360,000 that do it. So this company will get found, and so will their competitors, like 3 or 4 other competitors. But this group of people, because they're visible to the buyer, will get invited to have discussions, et cetera. And so you want to make sure you're visible. We provide you the guidance on it, the tools to learn about it, and some tools to actually help you. But you do this on the government's site. So we're not creating some proprietary database of your data. We're actually saying, where do the federal buyers look for you? And we're telling you, you're not visible there. Go make yourself visible. So congratulations to Shahid Smith from SAS Geospatial and all the other 100 Club companies. So the 7-step process is something that I put together in particular to address this whole idea that people don't understand how busy small business owners are and how busy the people who work for small businesses are. Often when you look at processes, you hear people talk about processes in sales, they're talking about billion-dollar companies, right? Or $100 million, billion-dollar companies where they have whole teams of people doing stuff. And they don't understand in small business government contracting, it is usually the same 1, 2, 3 people doing every role. And so I wanted to put together a process that is more aligned to our businesses and how we do business and how we can successfully sell to the federal government. So I came together with just the 7 steps. Very quickly, they are they begin with research, then targeting, finding your customers that you want to find, outreach, which is knocking on doors, in order to build relationships. When you build relationships, that's going to lead to opportunities. When you find enough opportunities for your pipeline, you'll be able to write winning proposals and start winning. And I call it these 2 different phases of the 7-step process. The first phase is the path to relationships. You may have heard that success in government contracting is about who you know and who knows you. Having those relationships in place is very, very important. Well, how do you do that? So the first 3 steps really put together the process for building new relationships. Even if you don't know anybody and you have 0 contacts, you can begin to move forward. And so that's the first 3 steps that lead to relationships. Once you get to relationships, you're on what I call the wheel of success. Once you're on this wheel and you have good relationships that lead to opportunities so you can write proposals and you start winning sales or contracts, then you're on that wheel of success. And as long as you keep doing good work, it's going to be easier for you to win contracts because you're trusted more. People know you more. And so that's the idea of the 7-step process. Whether you're doing business development, which is fundamentally trying to go into an agency, learn about them, build relationships, find opportunities. So whether you're doing business development or you're doing capture, which is about taking one single opportunity and shaping it, shaping the acquisition approach and shaping the scope, the technical requirements of it. Either way, this 7-step process can apply. So we'll walk through those 7 steps together. We got 20 minutes to do it, and we got 7 steps to go. So I tried to put down for each one of the 7 steps, what is the purpose of this one step? It's important to know the why. Why am I doing something, right? If I tell you you need to build relationships, why? You need to have slam dunk opportunities, why? Right? It's like, and so a purpose statement helps us understand the why. Why are we even doing this? And so research is about understanding an agency. The purpose of this is to understand an agency. I like to say you want to understand an agency better than almost anybody in that agency. No one in a agency, like let's say the Department of Navy as an example, no one in that department, that agency will know it as well as you, because you're looking at it from all different angles. But every single person who works for the Navy, they're in one particular area. They work for NAVC or NAV Air or NAV FAC, right? They work for headquarters. They're in acquisition, or they're in engineering, or they're in facility management. But they don't look at it holistically. You do, right? Some leaders might look at it at a very holistic level, but they don't look at it in the weeds, right? Their job as a leader is to look at it only at the top level. You're looking at it holistically and then in depth when you really are doing research into an agency. And so what this means when I'm talking about research is understand the organization. I just said NAVFAC, NAVC, NAVAIR, NAVWAR. Well, that's the system or buying commands in the Navy. That's 4 of, I think there's 10 in there, right? So understanding the organization will help you understand which offices are buying what you sell. If you sell construction, maybe it's here, or installation, or what they call, maybe they do call it installation. I can't remember what the Navy calls their bases, right? I'm losing that for 1 second. But this idea of understanding who's buying what you sell comes from first knowing who exists. So what is the organizational breakdown of the Department of Commerce? What's the organizational breakdown of DHS? And then you look in at what you sell and say to yourself, is there some group that buys more of this than anybody else? And then the other thing is challenges and goals. And so you really want to understand in research the top challenges an agency is dealing with. That way you can align your products and solutions to their needs. They have goals and objectives for the future. They have challenges for today, and they have activities they have already determined are important to them. When you research an agency, you're able to align what you sell to what they want. The next step 2 is of the 7-step process is targeting. And targeting, the purpose is to know who to call, right? The idea when you're building relationships, like, great, you said I'm supposed to build relationships with people, but with who? Well, step 2 of the 7-step process helps you determine who are you going to call, right? And the outcome of a targeting activity is to build a list of 100 to 200 people's names, numbers, and emails, so that you can pick up the phone later and call them. But you need to build a spreadsheet or put it into some CRM tool. But you need to build a list of names, numbers, and emails of people that potentially can help you get into the target agency that you want. And so an example of who you can call, who you can put down, for the federal buyer side, we have what's called focuses of receptivity. These are people who are willing to talk to you, but they don't have a need. You have focuses of dissatisfaction. These are the people with the need, like the program office, and focuses of power. These are the acquisition people, the contracting officer. And so I would build a list if I'm trying to get into the Navy, into NAV Air, Naval Air Systems Command, right? If I was trying to get in there, I would try to find me some small business professionals. I would try to find some program office personnel, and I would try to find some contracting officers in there. And the same thing with industry, right? I would try to find small businesses that are winning within NAVAIR, if that's where I'm trying to build the target list. I would try to build 20 to 40 small business companies that are winning in there that are similar to mine in some way. And then I would do the same with larges. I would try to find, let's say, the top 10 or 20 businesses that are there. If you're brand new to government contracting, by the way, don't call larges. This is a holistic process. If you're brand new, just focus all your energy on small business winners. And then the last part is, how do you find these people during targeting? You can go to the agency's website. I've done tons and tons of training about how to do this. So you can go look at my replays. All my training is always available. But you can find it on websites. Go to an agency. Some agencies like NIH has their entire staff phone book. There is no excuse for not being able to find it. The only reason you can't find it is because you haven't developed the skills yet. But as soon as you do, you'll start going to town on finding people's names. And then you can look on them for them on LinkedIn. I do this all the time. There's all sorts of federal buyers who are on LinkedIn. And then finally, you can go to SAM or FPDS. These two federal tools, when you go in, you can find points of contact. FPDS tends to have the contracting officer on each item, that a contract that was awarded. And SAM, generally, when you go in there, at the bottom of the notice, you'll see a primary and a secondary point of contact. This is how you build a targeting list that enables you to move to step 3 of the 7-step process in federal success, right? And step 3 is outreach. This is where you're picking up the phone and you're trying to establish relationships. Think about this as the cold calling phase of the 7-step process. So in here, you've already built a list of 200 people you want to call. Maybe 20% of them are going to talk to you, right? But you need 200 in order to get to the 20. And so in outreach, you're reaching out to these people. You're doing a cold call to try to get an intro meeting. You really only want a 15-minute meeting, maybe 30 minutes. Never, ever, ever more than 30 minutes for a first meeting. Never, ever, ever in person. You want it to be virtual. Don't waste their time, and certainly don't waste your time, right? It is much better for you to have that first and second meeting virtually, even the third, fourth meeting, right? I've had some people I've been working with for years. I've never met them. And we have very good relationships. So don't get caught up on the physical, but this first meeting you're going to have is to find out whether you're a good fit for them and whether they are a good fit for you. You don't want to build relationships with everybody. You want to build relationships with just a few, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then the other thing about outreach is you're looking to have successful, not great meetings. Successful meetings move the relationship forward, move the sale forward. And so you want to have some objective in there. I talk about using a call plan when you're making these outreach efforts and trying to have meetings. A call plan will have you or help you make it successful. A great meeting is when everybody loves each other, but nothing really happened. Your goal should be, I put down here 25 calls per day. That certainly should be your goal. If you've got no business and you're trying to get started, or you're a new business developer who's responsible for the Army, you should be doing 25 to 50 a day until you start having enough relationships that you've got meetings that are filling your time. And then you should be aiming for 4 meetings per week, 4 new people every week. And think about the amount of success you can have. If you meet 4 new people every week, you're having 200 new potential relationships every year. And the outcome, just as a spoiler to the next, actually, I'll just jump ahead. The outcome is you want to develop 24 strategic relationships. That's the very bottom here. That's the goal of that outreach, is to find those people who will lead to 24 strategic relationships, long-term relationships that are committed to mutual commitment to growth, right? And so if you meet 200 people during outreach in a single year, there's a really good chance you're going to find 24 people who are a fit, you for them and them for you, right? And so strategic relationships is step 4 of the 7-step process. This is a very big thing to understand, that there's a difference between a strategic relationship and a networking relationship or a friendly relationship, right? I have thousands of connections. In fact, I'm going somewhere next week to speak at Morehouse, and I'm going down there, and there's 2 people I'm meeting. They're a strategic relationship for me. We have a mutual commitment to growth. I'm committed to them and their agenda and what they want to get done, and they're committed to helping me do what I want to do, which is reaching out to the industry as well. But I'll also be meeting with all sorts of other people. Well, those other people are pretty much just friendly relationships, my network. We'll talk and then we'll kind of go away, but there's no mutual commitment to growth. And you need to understand the difference, because yes, we want to have, these bigger group of a network, but then more tightly a strategic relationship. These are the people who are going to help you grow, and you are committed to helping them grow. But these are the ones you're going to talk to on a regular basis. I like to say every 2 weeks, you have a recurring meeting, 15 minutes. It could go 30 minutes, but 15 minutes is fine. And when you have this every 2 weeks, you're talking about a pipeline. You're looking together at a pipeline saying, hey, I saw this one. Are we moving this one forward? You are looking to identify opportunities. And when you build these relationships, they are basically an extension of your sales force within your company. So whether you're a 1-person company or a 10-person company, imagine having 24 other companies that are keeping their eye out for things that you two might work together on. And so what I like to say is your strategic relationships, your goal is on an annual basis, that strategic relationship should lead to 4 FTEs, right? 4 full-time equivalent billable employees out there. And when you have that, that's going to be huge, leading towards your success, right? It takes time to build it to get to that stage, but it really starts driving forward. Okay, so let's talk about step 5. We've got these relationships, and these relationships are so vital. Remember, it's a mutual commitment to growth. You can have that mutual commitment with an agency partner, even though there's no sale that happens, but you're committed to helping them stay informed about what you're an expert on in the industry and talking. And they're committed to sharing with you some of their challenges or goals, right? None of it is underhanded. All of it is above board. Anybody can build these relationships, but you've built that relationship. On the same side, you're building relationships with teaming partners out there. The purpose of step 5 is to identify slam dunk opportunities. These are opportunities that you know you can win. So an example is my last company, we were a SharePoint company through and through. So if I saw a SharePoint opportunity, it was a slam dunk opportunity. If I saw a Microsoft opportunity, it was more like a 3-pointer, right, or something. I still might shoot at the basket, but it's not a slam dunk. Slam dunk is when you're holding that ball all the way in. It is guaranteed to give you just to count, right? And so opportunities going into your pipeline should be the same thing, because you need to be very protective of your time. You don't want to work on opportunities that are so far unrelated to what your core strength is. And so the purpose of slam dunk opportunities, or step 5, is to pursue those opportunities you can win. When you have relationships with teaming partners or with federal agency buyers, they'll tell you about the opportunities. Buyers will sit there and say, hey, watch out for this RFI, it's coming. They'll talk to you about their 1-year or 5-year strategy. I used to be able to sit on in an office with somebody I worked with and the customer, and on the back was their 10-year plan. And I could look at it year after year and go, oh, maybe we can help here, right? It's a big type of roadmap. That's the advantage of getting inside the wire. This is why you want to build relationships. If you don't have the relationships, I understand this. It takes time. Build them slowly but surely, and you'll get to this stage where you've got a lot of people you can lean on to hear about those opportunities. So another part about the opportunities, and the thing to keep in mind, right, is the opportunities that you're best at. Another way to define the opportunities stage or step of the 7-step process is that you want to find ones that are the right contract value. Don't go after opportunities that are $100 or $200 million. Let's say it's SharePoint. It's like, I can't do that. I'm a small company. I just got started. It's like, okay, find opportunities that are in that $250,000 to maybe $5 million range, and you can team up with some people to stretch it. But you want to find the right contract value that's going into your pipeline, because you need to have a certain amount that's realistic to win and enough in the pipeline to hit your revenue goals. And then the last one is make sure you have the right number. So, do I need 5 opportunities in there, or do I need 50 opportunities in my pipeline? Right about here, when we're getting into opportunities and they're in our pipeline, to me, getting opportunities into the pipeline is business development. Once they're in there, now you're in capture, right? And this is where you start shaping those opportunities. So remember, that 7-step process can come right down on top of the capture as you research a single particular opportunity and what you can do. You can build a targeted list of people around that one opportunity and start building relationships with them. So when you have good opportunities in your pipeline, this enables you to move on to step 6, which is writing winning proposals. There's a difference between writing proposals, which a ton of people are doing, just a massive amount now with all these AI tools out there. But you want to write winning proposals. Even with the AI tools, make sure that you and the AI are writing winning proposals. A winning proposal is a proposal the buyer loved. Man, I wish I could award 2 contracts, one to this company and one to this company, right? If there was 2 companies in there with winning proposals. A winning proposal is not confusing to the contracting officer. They love it. The program office loves it. Your only challenge is sometimes there might be 2 or 3 companies that the government loves, but you want to be one of those winning proposals. And when you write a winning proposal, I say it comes down to these 4 C's. It needs to be clear, compliant, compelling, and convincing. And it's my favorite thing to see these AI tools that are out there writing proposals communicating this now. They're saying their tools are going to help you be clear, compliant, compelling, and convincing. And so if you think about that, and I've got a whole separate training on that, you'll start leading to success. The one thing I really want you to keep in mind when you're in step 6 here in writing proposals, you should be writing 48 winning proposals a year. It's like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? It's so much. I didn't say writing 48 proposals. I didn't say write 48 junk proposals, winning proposals. Whether you're able to get to that pace this year, maybe it takes you 2 years to get to that pace. But if you have enough relationships, then you can be a subcontractor with a whole bunch of other companies so that you're able to be part of their opportunities that they're going after, but they're winning proposals for you. Like if they win that, you're gonna do well. So you could have 30 or 40 even of these proposals that I'm talking about be other team members, right? I have customers who have strategic relationships with Booz Allen, GDIT, Lighthouse. Well, when you've got relationships at that level, I guarantee you they easily can be putting you on proposals. And think about it, you only have to be on 4 proposals per company, because when you multiply your relationships times the number of proposals, you can get them out the door. But you should be putting that in the head because you want to be winning. And the only way you're going to win is if you have a sufficient amount of winning proposals going out the door. Okay, and last step is sales, right? 7-step process ends with sales, or it kind of begins again with sales. And the purpose of sales, obviously, is to increase your revenue when you're winning, right? You cannot grow your company's revenue without contracts that are being won. And we'll talk about this in a minute. But that's sales. That's the fundamentals of sales. And what you're trying to do is, whether you win or lose, you want to learn from it. You want to go in on a debrief to the customer and say, what didn't you like? What did you like? What did we do right? Have conversations with them and take advantage of that lessons learned. You want to internally look at your process and go, did we rush to this? Was that proposal really a winning proposal? Was that opportunity we wrote to that we just won or lost, was the opportunity really a slam dunk opportunity? When you get, and maybe I just go to the next step here really quick. When you win sales, this is why I like to say you're on a wheel of success, because once you win this, you're able to demonstrate to the people who you already have a relationship with that you do good work, and they start liking you even more, right? People work with those they know, like, and trust. And when you have won a contract and are starting to deliver really good work on there, they're going to know, like, and trust you more. They will tell you about more opportunities. They will help you meet other people within their agency, and you'll hear about more opportunities that way. You're able to stay on that wheel of success, and you kind of don't even have to come back out to the path to relationships when you're on this wheel, except for a little bit of research, right? And so that's really important. What I want to recommend you do today is reverse engineer the process. If you're not getting the revenue you want, stop for a second and ask yourself why. This 7-step process will answer that for you. If you're not, if you don't have enough sales or revenue, then you're not winning enough. If you're not winning enough, then it very obviously is because you don't have enough winning proposals go out the door. So look at the proposals going out the door and say, 1, are we doing enough? 2, are we doing enough that are winning proposals? If not of either one of them, then back up, because you're not having enough opportunities in the pipeline. You can write enough proposals if you've got enough opportunities. This is, hopefully pretty basic logic as you walk back. You want to look back at your opportunities and say, do we have enough opportunities in the pipeline? Do we have enough value of the opportunities, the contract value that would lead to the revenue we want? And most importantly, are the opportunities all slam dunk? Pause for a second, look at your pipeline and say, are they slam dunk opportunities? And the last one I'll say at the moment, you can just keep reverse engineering the process, but relationships. Do I have enough relationships that will lead to the success that I want? All right, so I just want to watch my time. We're wrapping up. Here's some things to remember. If you want a copy of the 7-step handout, just go to our newsletter. I talked about it earlier. You can find it. Maybe somebody put it in the chat, but I have a link. You can push a button and download the PDF. Make sure you're reverse engineering that process with your team and say, hey, why aren't we getting the goals that we want met? And the last thing is, as you go into new agencies, as you struggle with new opportunities, remember, go back to step one for a second and research that company, understand where they're at. Don't forget to sign up for tomorrow's training, how federal buyers find small businesses like yours. I'd love to be able to provide that tip. If you're looking for help in the government contracting space and you're above 2 million, put workshop in the chat if you're interested in hearing about our workshop. But for all of us, either way, just keep watching the training. I do a ton of it. And remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I will see you in the next training.